Hello, everyone. Got another video about the book Think and Grow Rich today. Today I'm covering chapter 11, which is titled The Mystery of Sex Transmutation. This is the 10th step toward riches, principle 10. Chapter 11 in Think and Grow Rich. Transmutation is about the changing or transferring of one element or form of energy into another. And contrary to what people might think when they read the title of the chapter, this is not about the physical sexual act. It's about transferring that energy into other creative and productive outlets. He says sex desire is the most powerful of human desires. They do say in the editor's comment, there's a bunch of editor's comments, but they do say in the audio version I was listening to from 2001, they say that it's one of the first strong desires after the ones that are necessary for survival. So they go into Abraham Maslow's hierarchy of needs. So there's things like food and shelter come before this, but still very powerful. In fact, this is the only chapter, apart from the unnumbered first chapter. I think it's actually, apart from the unnumbered first chapter in the book, this is the only other chapter where they changed the name of the chapter in the audio version. They called it, instead of the mystery of sex transmutation, they call it sexuality, charisma, and creativity. And they also have updates about the fact that in this book, all of the examples are men, but now we have more examples of successful women, successful careers, which was not the case back in 1937. There were a few people here and there, but there wasn't really a study made of those people. There's an example, there's a quote here about a river being dammed. A river may be dammed, its water controlled for a time, but eventually it will force an outlet. You may have seen a post I did about this where I included a picture of the dam in my town. It's like less than 2 miles from where I live, so I went down and took a picture of that dam, and I thought that went well with that quote. It talks about 10 mind stimuli. 8 of them are positive. The desire for sex expression. 2 is love. 3, a burning desire for fame, power, or financial gain, money. 4, music. 5, friendship between either those of the same sex or those of the opposite sex. 6, a mastermind alliance based upon the harmony of 2 or more people who ally themselves for spiritual or temporal advancement. 7, mutual suffering such as that experienced by people who are persecuted. 8 is autosuggestion. 9 is fear, and 10 is narcotics and alcohol. So the fear and the narcotics are the 2 negative ones. Although they do give examples of some successful people who did produce some creative work while under the influence of alcohol or drugs, but then they later kind of burned out as well. Lots of rock stars, for example, mentioned in one of the editor's comments. Genius is developed through the sixth sense. So they introduced the concept of a sixth sense in this chapter, which will get its own chapter later on. Gives an example of a great orator who closes his eyes when he gets, just before the climax of his speech, he closes his eyes so that he can draw on the faculty of creative imagination. There's an example of an inventor, Dr. Elmer Gates, created more than 200 useful patents, and sometimes he would sit there and close his eyes, turn off all the lights, and think about things, and that's how he got a lot of his ideas. The pages of history. Okay, now it's talking about people who are successful that were strongly influenced by romance. Like they had a love, someone they loved. Usually, in the case of these men, usually it was their wife, but there's a few exceptions. So, for example, Napoleon Bonaparte was inspired by his first wife, Josephine, and he kind of went downhill after he terminated that relationship. Abraham Lincoln's example is his first love, Anne Rutledge, who died at the age of 22, years before he met Mary Todd, who he would later marry. Um, but they gave a list of some of the names: George Washington, Thomas Jefferson, Napoleon Bonaparte, Albert Hubbard, William Shakespeare, Albert H. Gary, Abraham Lincoln, Oscar Wilde, Ralph Waldo Emerson, Woodrow Wilson, Robert Burns, John H. Patterson, Andrew Jackson, and Enrico Caruso. So 5 of those are U.S. presidents, and then there's a couple of the people that I didn't really know that much about. But uh, he says sex energy is the creative energy of all genii. He's using that as an old-fashioned plural of genius. There never has been and never will be a great leader, builder, or artist lacking in this driving force of sex. And he also talks about people rarely succeed before the age of 40, and a lot of this is because um, the younger people are more likely to overindulge in the physical expression of sex rather than transmuting the desire into other efforts. There's some paragraphs that get omitted here. I'm going to skip over some of these stories. There's a lot of great information in here. I'm looking at the original one. This is this is my reprint of the original text. But I have another physical copy, and I have an audio version from 2001. I have one. This is 2005, a 2005 edition, and then I also have a ebook. I believe that's the original one as well. So 3 different versions. There was a part in here talks about marriage. I think most of that was cut out of my modern version too. I'm going to stop there and just say this is a great read. I'm now reading Principle 11, which is the subconscious mind. It's a shorter chapter. I'll do a video about that next week. Anyway, I encourage everybody to read these books. There are, believe there is an e-version of the book in the files, or in the somewhere in this group. Anyway, I encourage you to take a look for that if you don't have a physical version of the book. Anyway, thanks for everybody who's watching. I have 3 live viewers right now. How's everybody doing? And I hope I'm still able to do these live videos once we lose the classic version. I got a little scare earlier. I couldn't do it in the new version, but I did find a way to switch back. Anyway, talk to everybody later. Have a good day, night, whatever time it is where you are. Hope you enjoyed this.